you, my friend. Godfather. Good.
Hey! Hi there. Back again. This is JW. This is the Rayfon Report. Cute little desktop thing that we have here is probably going to be our staple logo. And as you see there, we've got a Facebook page. We've got our primary website, which is rayfonreport.com. Again, for anybody might be your first time around, Rayfon. It's an acronym that means Rise and Fall of Nations. And we've kind of been dealing with some up-to-date news here recently, but I don't want to get too far away from the original mission here. And that is, again, the rise and fall of nations. Why I believe this is so important is because I've studied so much world history, and then I stop and I look at the world around me and I see so much that looks the same. And so you start to recognize symbols, you start to recognize the symptoms, and then you start putting the pieces together. And one of the things that you discover as you start to put this stuff together was no matter how well you thought you knew history, no matter how well you might have thought that you learned about the Roman Empire in school, or no matter how much you think you may have learned about the Bible in church, when you start to dig into these things and you start to branch out to the periphery stories and I don't really know what the big word there would be, but the joining histories, when you see it from other accounts contemporary to the same time frame. And then you also go in and you look as best you can find in the forces that opposed them and find out what their perception of the things that you looked at, how they were reflected in their own time, and how they saw it through their own time and their own culture. Excuse me. Don't worry, it's not coronavirus. I've just been smoking cigarettes too long. But when we get into Rayfon here, one of the things that or some of the things that you'll constantly hear being brought up is the globalists, the world elite, oh my God, and I hate this word anymore just because of what's been done to it, but the Illuminati. Shadow government. There's 1,000 names for it throughout history, and well, come to think of it, there's probably more. But what I want to talk about here is not so much a concise history of a particular kingdom, empire, country, nation, whatever, but getting more into the overall mechanics of how things begin to take shape once you understand the maneuvering and shifting. Today in the world in the year 2020, we have a lot of global or foreign trade. People travel all over the world. They travel by boat, they travel by plane. Even here in America, you can go from one side to the other, and it's just amazing. And if you've got the time and the resources, you can bounce all over the world. Last I heard, there's something like 200 countries. And that's just, again, looking at now, but going back and looking over time, what we want to try to find, at least for my purposes in this program and why I came up with this idea in the first place, is to try to find some of those kingdoms and empires that lasted, that had stamina, that had staying power, and find out as best we can how they worked up to that point, how long they held it, and what events preceded its fall, what events preceded its collapse. But again, today I want to talk about the people that are really above the scenes. And what I mean specifically by that is if we look at the world today, we have Angela Merkel in Germany. We have, oh my goodness, I can't think of the guy's name right off the top of my head. So we'll just go right here in America. Donald Trump, President of the United States. President Xi or Xi, I'm not really sure, of China. But that's just to give you an idea of what I'm referring to here. As well as here in America, you can look at just our politicians, not just the ones that are in Congress, but you got to look at this group of knuckleheads all over the place. Because within 99% of what you see, we think it's bad enough. But when you get to that top, the ones that are really pulling the strings, then you begin to see and realize that kings, queens, prime ministers, princes, chancellor, whatever the title may be, they achieve certain levels of power, certain levels of fame. They gathered to themselves massive fortunes. But the majority of the people that we look at and that we typically call world leaders, they're not the ones running the show. Holy. We look at these leaders and they have a lot of power. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay them at all. They have a lot of power, they have a lot of connections, they have a lot of say so. Many of these families are legendary. I mean, they just have generations before them that were leaders in whatever respective fields or maybe even countries. Such as you look at Canada, Justin Trudeau. Well, his dad was, what is it up there, Prime Minister? I'm not real sure. But above these people, see, these to me, what we refer to as our world leaders, to me, they're the puppets. They're the puppets. And the puppets are controlled by the puppet masters, or here, kingmakers. Again, we go through history and we learn about all of the European kings, and we learn about the leaders in Africa, and we learn about the leaders in Russia, and before it was Russia, and way back before then, we go back to the pre-BC dynasties in China or Egypt. Again, the majority of those that rise to the level and the positions and places of power over the little people, you and me, well, they're still puppets in many, many, many ways. A lot of people, a lot of organizations, a lot of entities helped get them to where they got. And when you get there, well, certain things are expected of you by the people that got you there. And that's where some of the tug of war comes, push and pull back and forth. And of course, we have all kinds of negotiations. Now, here we are, 2020, and we get to see a whole lot on the internet. We get to see a whole lot on television, but most of that is theatrics. I call it the distraction media complex, because that's what they're here for primarily, is to distract us and to keep us fighting against each other. Male, female, transgender, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, Hindu, anything that they can find to throw in there to get us just ripping at each other. We're just ripping each other apart, they will. But again, these people have controllers above them. I would say, looking at the world today, some of the biggest figures I can think of, they're still in the camera eye, so they're really not that top echelon. But you look at people like George Soros, Bill Gates, even, what's his name, the guy that owns Amazon. These people are just absolutely filthy rich. They have a world at their fingertips, and they get a lot of people to do a lot of things just at the snap of a finger, pick up the telephone, and they will run and they will run and they will run for them, because they're that kind of puppet master. The ones that I worry about are the ones that we don't see, the ones where we don't hear their names, because I think most of the people that are known, at least that appear in media and everything, they're not the ones up top. They're just not. The ones that are up top is old, old, old money. And you can take that line anywhere you want to. So for today, what we're looking at is Kingmakers and a little thing that's well known, Kiss the Ring. This can be viewed a lot of different ways. I got to tell you, I'm kind of disappointed in Google, though, because when I was trying to do some research here for ancient empires and kingdoms and everything and how it related to kissing the monarch's ring or, whatever have you, strangely absent. Strangely absent, but oh well. Of course, I don't rely on one search engine, and today was just kind of grabbing a few things to throw up here while I'm going over this. But you have to again understand because you've got your lower level people. I'd say that's your city council members, your mayors, your sheriffs, maybe even some of the weaker governors. And again, I can only really speak from a frame of reference here in the United States because I don't really know how other countries, how all their government's set up. But then you start to move up the ladder a little, and that could be your state representatives, primarily the ones that we have in Congress. Of course, the leader, President Trump. I prefer that people still call these representatives. They're not supposed to be our leaders. And I think something went wrong many, many years ago when people stopped referring to them as representatives and started referring to them as leaders. But here's one entity right here that kind of is moving towards what I'm referring to when I say kiss the ring. Now, again, this here is our current Pope. This was the guy before him. See somebody kissing his ring. But things like this are normally what people would associate this with. A kiss on the hand can signify many things, including chivalry, respect, fidelity, and admiration. And it absolutely can. But this is just on the rosy side of life. Many people will remember these from the old black and white movies. Oh, it's just love and respect and... Oh, look at here. The Queen of England, yeah, she gets her ring hand kissed all the time, and she's a very, very powerful woman. Now, if you talk to most people that are kind of familiar with the way things work in Britain in the royal family, most of them are simply under the impression she's just a figurehead. She's just a big no. This is a very, very powerful woman. This is a kingmaker right here. This is a very, very powerful woman. Again, old blood. Angela Merkel of Germany. It's kind of hard to tell here who's wanting to really kiss whose hand, isn't it? This, I believe, is the Prince of Morocco. Again, people are used to these pictures. They're used to this kind of a scene or scenario when it comes to these things. And of course, 90% of people are just like, well, it's just a sign of respect. Well, that's true to a certain degree until you get to the darker side of life. Here we see Oprah. We see John Podesta. We see Hillary Clinton. We see Tom Hanks. We see Arnold Schwarzenegger. We see Sheila Jackson Lee. And we see that general was just killed not too long ago, Soleimani. And you notice they're all wearing, it's damn near an identical ring. Now, this can be taken into 50,000 different directions depending on which secret society you're wanting to look at, which house of power you're wanting to blame it to. But what you have to realize is that these things are symbols, but it's what they symbolize. And trust me, when people kiss John Podesta's ring, when people kiss Oprah's ring, when people kiss Sheila Jackson Lee's ring, it's not just about respect and admiration and fidelity or chivalry. It's about obedience and subservience, much like it is with the Pope and the bishops and the cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church that are constantly having people kissing their hands or their rings. And isn't this interesting right here? I believe that is Pope John Paul II. I'm not positive of that name, but This is the guy I believe was Pope when I was born, which was in 63. And look at here. It's not somebody kissing his hand. He's kissing somebody's hand. He's kissing the hand of a Rothschild. That's a name you're going to hear a lot of in conspiracy circles. So get used to it. So again, we, even with those that would look at the Catholic Church and they think the Pope is the top of the line. No. And this leads you into another conspiracy theory. Boy, I'm getting good at this. This leads you into another conspiracy theory, and that is the belief that this would be called the White Pope, not because his skin is white, but his station, his platform, his level is white. And then above him, there's something called the Black Pope. Look that one up. Again, let me remind everybody, don't take my word for nothing here. You see what I'm putting up and go out there and check it out for yourself. But again, whether we're looking through history, and it doesn't really matter if we are simply looking at a monarch on a throne, a boarding school headmaster, the don of a mafia, a cardinal, bishop, or pope of the Catholic Church, a Hollywood movie executive, Harvey Weinstein, ring a bell, a political outfit, a special interest entity, a professional sports scout or recruiter, a rap music production company, or the dreaded secret society that shall remain nameless and faceless. But the only way that many people are ever going to be able to reach towards, to be able, given the opportunity to reach towards the wealth, power, and fame that they seek, a lot of it begins with the kissing of this ring. And it just depends on the industry you're in and where you're trying to get to and what's in your way and what you have to do to get over it, above it, around it, through it. But let me run a few things off here for you when I'm talking about Kiss the Ring. I do some research on that because there's a lot more detail, but I just can't really get into it here. We have a song by, and I don't know a lot of the names of these artists, so excuse me if I butcher them. Raekwon, called Kiss the Ring, mentions La Cosa Nostra. Horses, Blood on the Bed. Anybody watch The Godfather? A Mafia Don and Kissing the Ring. My Chemical Romance also did a song called Kiss the Ring, and it mentions the suits killing each other, and that it doesn't matter if the words mean a thing because you're gonna kiss the ring. Black Francis or Frank Black also did a Kiss My Ring that mentions immorality, wearing a gown, sounds like secret society, and is now telling others that he's achieved a certain level, so now it's their turn to kiss his ring. There's a female singer, Joust, with a song called Kiss the Ring, about how she reached fame, and someone else then also had to kiss her ring. Cholo Punks did a Kiss My Ring. The Sauce did a song called Kiss the Ring. DJ Khaled did an album called Kiss the Ring. LZ and Fashawn also did a rap song about Kiss the Ring that mentions swimming with the fishes. Again, another reference back to Godfather. There was a fictional novel by Misha Mink called Kiss the Ring, a story about revenge and her rising to a point to where people are now kissing her ring as the queen. We also have Krayshawn, Gucci Gucci. It's a rap that mentions, you may call me your majesty, and you can kiss the ring, but you never wear the crown. Look at that. Now, I didn't make that meme, but it fits right along with the story. You see, you can achieve certain levels provided you're willing to go along to get along. And they will let you. They will allow you to achieve certain levels. But you can better believe there's a lot of things that you'll never be a part of. Don't forget also, these people will turn on each other in a heartbeat and throw one another under the bus. That's why you'll see a rap star come out of nowhere, shoot to the top, and then just disappear. You'll see a movie actor or actress, somebody is discovered, and they make it so far, and you never hear from them again. This is why you'll see people on these talent shows, America's Got Talent, Korea's Got Talent, Russia's Got Talent, blah, 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 blah. You'll see people, even people that win, and you expect big things. and they'll just disappear. Now, a lot of times, people can say, well, success isn't for everybody and it's overwhelming, and some people cave under the pressure. Well, yeah, it's true. But it's also a lot of hurdles you got to climb. It's kind of like politicians, say here in the United States, when one party gets in after the other party was a majority for a while. Well, it's, once they get in the door, well, some of the first things that they start doing is changing the locks. So it's that much harder for the next person or the next group to come through to reach that level. And all these industries protect themselves. It doesn't matter if you're in the music industry or Hollywood or the media or special interests, science, medical field. There's levels. That means that you have the puppets. You have lower level puppets, probably mid-level, even upper level puppets. But this has a ceiling. And again, the ceiling is primarily those you're never going to hear about, you're never going to see, and that's just the way that it goes. Again, there are also the Kingmakers. They are the ones that farm for the biggest puppets that they can buy, that they can afford, and those that will kiss their ring or their ass. Again, when you're going through and you're studying history and you're starting to learn a lot more about the way things worked at that time, whatever time period you're in, and as you've done your best to sift through what you believe is fact and what you believe is fiction, again, you start to look around the world, you start to look around you, and a lot more starts to make sense. You're going to wind up with a lot more questions than you ever imagined, but a lot more begins to make sense. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. Read anything you want to, listen to anything you want to, but when it comes to me and my material, hey, word of caution. Read, follow, listen at your own risk. But go out and do your own research. Don't take my word for it. I don't want you blaming me. I don't want you holding me accountable. Again, as I try to remind people, I'm human just like you. I make mistakes. I get fed bad information. So, it is what it is. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with the next program. I'm kind of getting back into this, but I've got to devote some time into the software to try to learn a little bit more about editing, maybe in some sound effects, because, as you can tell if you're paying attention up here in the little window, I'm kind of dramatic. But I believe it's necessary to show the true passion, to show that I'm interested in this stuff. I'm not making this up. I'm not just, oh, look, I'm a happy face on YouTube. That's not who I am. I read. My wife will tell you. I read, I research, I write a lot. I write a lot. I'm in all kinds of groups and social networks and get into all kinds of mini debates, and I've been in plenty of religious debates, but we won't go there here on this episode. But, just to give you a little bit more of what you're in for with me, proceed with caution. Proceed at your own risk, but do your own homework. So you can't blame me and you can't hold me accountable. Don't, oh no, it was him. Don't do that to me. Again, if you do like what you're seeing and what you're hearing here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you're feeling like it, you can throw me a few bucks on PayPal. I'll see you next time. I don't know what the program's going to be, but God bless you. God bless America. I love you. Be good.